Hey y'all. Y'all, let me tell y'all. First off, let me tell y'all, it's raining a little bit. It's just started raining. I got the house a little late, and so I could have been at the school while it's raining. You know what I'm saying? Could have been already snuck. Look, I was like snuck as a rug. But that's no here there. Never mind. Y'all excuse my hair. Y'all, sometimes I be on point with it. Sometimes it just be what it is. Y'all understand. Y'all look. If you don't understand, you'll realize it. You'll be okay. Y'all. So let me tell y'all. I was debating about what I wanted to talk about today, cause it kind of y'all, as you may know, I be a little all over the place, but it has good intentions. It be right there where it need to be. But for real, last night, I was on Clubhouse, and we have confessions. Remember, I done told y'all, I've been Queens Nursing Queens, honey, and on Thursdays we have confessions. And you want to just cast your care. Sometimes it's important for you to have a little confession time, get some things off your chest. And Fridays like today, we have in the same room, Queens Nursing Queens, we have, it's a little bit different, but with confessions the recordings are off. And sorry, y'all, I be nosy too, because this bus is all on somebody's tail. But yeah, so the recordings are off on Fridays, and we have these different conversations, and I made a confession, and I'm okay with it. I was just like, I'm learning to make space for myself. And I had this realization yesterday that, well, maybe. So I had this thought. It's not, I don't really want to say what was a realization too, but the thought was, I need to make space for myself, and I need to be okay, even more so than what I already am. Because, every time you heal, you get a little bit better, but there's even more left for you to heal. And y'all, remind me, if I don't say it, remind me of the funny story. It wasn't funny at the time, but it's funny now, about healing with my daddy. So, yeah. So, anyway, I needed to make more space for myself. Because what I noticed, how some people, they do stuff that, we've been trained, socialized not to do, and that is bad. And it doesn't really mean that it's bad. So I'm going to give you an example. Let's say drugs, right? So I love smoker. I have a lot of smoker friends. I love smokers. I'm not going to lie. Not cigarette smokers, because I'm not really here for that. But let's say weed smokers, right? And of course, this thing is becoming more legalized. But I found myself originally, like, it was a few years back, where I was just like, my cousin was online. This is when, like, it first was becoming legalized, but it wasn't legal here in Florida. And my cousin was online, and she was chiefing it up, baby. And she was do. And I was like, bro, don't be doing all that stuff online like that. You recording yourself. I was like, you giving, and I think that was a piece of the issue. I was like, you giving ammunition to the law, right? To convict you if something occurs. Not necessarily that I have an issue with it, because I've known people who smoke my whole life. I've known people who smoke. And for me, I'm just like, I don't care. Like, I'm here for it. They ask some of the more, like how you see people posting about smoking, and they ask some crazy ass questions. And it'd be good though, because I'd be like, dang, I was thinking that in the shower one time, but I didn't want to tell nobody, because or you just be listening to what people say. And even when you hear people, smokers, and they, weed smokers, and they say certain stuff, you be like, dang, that's a good question. I ain't never thought about that. But side note, I be thinking I'm like a philosopher or something. I always wanted to be a philosopher. I wanted to take that up in college, but it didn't work out. But we're gonna come back to that, because that plays on what happened today too. So that was just one of those things. Like, I see people doing stuff, and I'm like, you can do whatever you want on the comforts of your own home. And I don't feel like that should be anybody's business, and they shouldn't have any right to pass judgment on you. Same thing with sex. Like, and again, y'all may come for me a little bit. That's your business. But I'm not here to tussle with y'all. You get what I'm saying? I'm not worried about it. But I'm going to say what I want to say because everybody got that right to say what they want. You know what I'm saying? So, the same thing with sex and sexuality and whatever else. Like, I keep looking at this stuff as far as like, you know, people talking about, you know, the LGBTQ A plus. I don't even know what it is anymore. I'm gonna just go straight. I don't even know what it is anymore. Y'all, the day that I would go straight, when I usually turn, the road ain't even closed no more. That's the disrespect right there. But anyway, I don't know all the letters. I'm not trying to memorize all the letters. I'm not a part of that community per se. But I do respect them, and I respect every person with their own decision. And I feel like, you know, sex and sexuality should not be something that, you know, you can discuss it, have fun discussing it, just like with politics. But when people start to get angry and people start to attack others based off of their beliefs and how they feel, I feel like that's ignorance, right? Because of course, one of my biggest things is people who always try to be in control are the people who don't have any control over themselves. And so that's one of the things that really baffles me and confuses me, and one of the things I dislike the most, because everybody's trying to now put stuff into laws and whatever else to pretty much have some say over another person's body, which they shouldn't have. That shouldn't have anything to do with them. Just like with the birth control or the people killing their babies and what's the other thing, abortions and whatever else, that's their business. Get out of them people's business. If she don't want to have the baby, she shouldn't have to have no babies. Let her kill the baby then. I mean, I get y'all gonna be mad at me or whatever else, but that's their business. Because then you turn around and you got another lady who's sitting over here, she got 10 damn children, and then all of a sudden y'all she got too many children, now she want government assistance, now she does not. But when she went to not have a baby, y'all was sitting up there trying to force her to have a baby. So what do y'all want? Y'all don't even know what y'all want. But I digress, because that ain't none of my business. I'm one of the people, do as thou wilt. Whatever you want to do, you do it. Especially if it's dealing with you and your body. Now, once you start to come over into the territory of others, right, that's when I got an issue. Because we're all here for a separate journey. Now, we may bounce between each other and everything else, but your journey is yours, baby. And if we're going to say it one way, you got to be okay with saying all the way around. Me and my homeboy had a conversation. Excuse me. We had a whole conversation not too long ago. And he was like, well, what if a girl, you know, you say that, but what if a young girl was out here and she was thotting and hoeing and she was sleeping with all these men, blah, 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 you know. And he was like, well, would you sleep with a whole lot of men? I said, no, I definitely wouldn't. I surely would not. I was like, first off, half men out here don't deserve the Pootie Tang. You got to be, when you got what you believe is good, and you, whether you talk about your vagina, your spirit, your essence, your, you know, whatever it may be, because people love to tell women, oh, that's all y'all try to do is offer the vagina. You worry about the wrong thing. It ain't yours, so who cares? If you don't want it, who cares? Whatever she throwing it, if that ain't got nothing to do with you, who cares? But now, if you fucking her, then I can see why you upset and why you feel some kind of way. That makes sense. Or if you want to, that makes sense, because that's something that you desire. But it's too many people. It's It's almost 8 billion people in the world. What, 8 billion, 8 trillion? I think it's a billion. But it's about 8 billion people in this world. You think I got time to worry about somebody else when I need to be worried about myself? I ain't got time for y'all. And that's just pure honesty. When you actually worried about yourself and you trying to figure out what it is that you got going on and what you need to do, you ain't got no time for nobody else and their foolishness. But when you ain't worried about yourself and you all in on somebody else's business, that's where the problems arise. Because you want to tell a person what they should and shouldn't do, and at the same time, ain't got it together. And so going back to, because I done went all the way around the mountain and everything else. Going back to the conversation from the other day, the girl brought up this good thing, and she this good conversation. She was pretty much saying how, you know, dealing with parents, how people have a tendency to I'm trying to find the better way to put it. Pretty much how people have a tendency to always glorify mothers, and how they have a tendency that if the mother is doing something wrong, or, you know, something negative or bad to the child, then we never really get at the mother to tell the mother what you shouldn't do, or that's wrong. We don't hold them accountable. We excuse them, and then we kind of push off to the child and tell the child, well, you need to figure out how to heal. And I told her, I get what you're saying. But in essence, she was saying, we need to stop doing that. And I fully understood what she was saying and where she was coming from. And I love that she brought that up. I love that she was able to freely give her opinion. Y'all know I'm getting out of the car, so y'all know I be doing a whole lot of moving, so excuse me, but I can still talk, and y'all can listen if you want. But she was able to give her opinion, and then so I told my side and was giving my opinion. Well, I asked her a couple questions first, but pretty much part of the questions that I had and what I wanted to know was, so how do we do that? Right? Because people have a tendency to say, yeah, sorry, I was up here. I got dirt from that darn. Y'all, I'm trying to become a plant mother, but I don't think it's for me. And I, as much as I love plants, there's potting soil everywhere. And what was I about to say? Not just potting soil, but just the plant life. I ain't got it yet. I'm not the best at it. Not quite about that life yet. All right, y'all. But anyway, so she was having a conversation. I'm sorry, I'm all in the camera and screen. She was having this conversation. I was like, you know, I feel where you're coming from, because when I was younger, that's how I felt. Like I gave my mama all these excuses. Oh, hold up, y'all. Having some difficulties. Just hang on. But yeah, so I was telling her, I was like, when I was younger, I gave my mother all these excuses, right? Like why she wasn't the best mother, and how come, you know, this and the third. And I don't even think I was giving excuses. It wasn't me giving excuses to my mother. It was me giving excuses to myself to justify me dealing with my mom. Right. So it was me justifying me dealing with my mama and accepting the foolishness. So I definitely get what she's talking about, because I remember asking my uncle and my aunts, like, why y'all allow her to do X, Y, Z? Like, why nobody, you see what was wrong, but nobody came to bat for me. And in essence, you know, I had to learn after years and years and years that nobody can force somebody else to take accountability. And that was really what the conversation was really about. What she was saying is we should force these people, or we should hold these people accountable. But you can't hold a child accountable. Even if they're a parent, they're still a child at the end of the day. And what we don't come into realization of is that your parents, just because, and I said that, just because they are older in age doesn't make them older in maturity level. You get what I'm saying? And everybody's here for different reasons. Hold on, y'all. All right, y'all. I'm sorry, I had to walk to my classroom. I'm about to cut on these lights, open the door for these little children. And then we're going to get back to this accountability. I don't know exactly. Hey, y'all. So, yeah, I don't remember exactly what I was saying. But in essence, we were talking about accountability, and I was kind of trying to say that it is what it is. Like, it's the thing about exposing people to information. I remember that when I was little, like we was talking about that in the church. You know what I'm saying? I grew up in the church, and it was talking about how to make people aware of what it is that they're doing. And they talked about accountability and stuff too. But I can express some things to you to get you to be more accountable, but I can't fully hold you accountable to something that you don't want to take accountability over or for. So I guess that's the part of the question, because I asked her a question about how do we, because she was saying like we need to do X, Y, Z, and I say, so how do we do that? And she was like, well, I heal myself and I da-da-da-da, and I was like, okay, but if you're talking about it as a whole, how can we do it? How provide steps, right? And so that's when I went into like what I was saying, and based off of her perception, because she kept saying, well, you guys are trying to always put the blame back on the hurt, like the person who was hurt, and not the person who is hurting. And I got what she was saying, but she couldn't see my point of view, because that was just, or maybe she did. She said she did, I think. So maybe she did. Either way, this is how I look at it. And it came to me this morning. That's why I guess I'm bringing it back up. If I ask you to hold a cup for me full of water, in the first 5-10 minutes, it may not bother you to hold that cup, right? You may hold it without any problems. The cup may be light. It's 8 ounces. 8 ounces is 8 ounces. That's not a lot. But the longer you hold that cup of water, the heavier it becomes, because it's straining your muscles. Okay? So then, if I come back to you and you say, here's your cup of water that you asked me to hold, and I said, oh, I don't need it, are you going to continue to hold it? Because if you do, at that point, that's your problem. And yes, I get it, like, oh, well, children shouldn't have to this and children da-da-da, but I feel like we also make children out to be weaker than what they truly are. Because for me, myself, a lot of what I went through made me a stronger individual for this thing we call life in this world that we live in. Because now I work with kids, and I see it every day, where those things we try to avoid doing the most to hurt the kids is exactly what we do to hurt them. And the thing about it is, what you try to do to show them love can also hurt them. So the hurt lies with the person who is hurt, not the herder. The herder, or the person who is placing the pain on somebody else, they have their own battles to worry about, right? And me as the person who's being hurt, I can't force the person who is hurting me to stop, but what I can do is I can move in a way that I can stop being hurt by that person. And we hear all these people talking about boundaries and mindset and self-care. All of this is a part of that, right? And just because you don't know how to do it at first, or you weren't born with those things to force you to do that, does not mean that you can't learn it, right? And then that leads me to, like, this morning I was listening to some Socrates and Plato, and I'm about to get into that. I always wanted to take classes and be in philosophical stuff, and I never got around to it. I never was able to, and I always wanted to read much more mythology and stuff like that, and I never really got around to that either. And so now it's coming to me. right, in droves, and I'm learning and I'm understanding and accessing this information, and it's allowing me to broaden my mindset and my thought processes. But in essence, there are a lot of limitations placed on us, but there are just as much as limitations that there are placed on us, we place those same limitations on ourselves. So and you gotta think about it. There are times when parents be like, oh, you don't need no boyfriend, don't have a boyfriend, don't this, don't that. And you go to school, you still get your boyfriend and talk to somebody. So what's to stop you from getting your own personal healing and alleviating yourself from these persons who constantly put you in a place of distraughtness? So again, we can't hold people accountable, just like we can't have expectations for other people. And I talked about it in my class. I be trying to remember where I talk about stuff at, because I be talking everywhere. But in my class, I was talking to them and I was like, expectations are like goals, and you having expectations for somebody is like you telling a person what their goals are gonna be. In school, that sounds cute, but that's why students be failing, because we have these goals and expectations that they should be able to achieve, and yet we don't ask them what their own expectations are. And how do you look telling somebody what's their goal for their life? Not asking them or incorporating them in their process. You could come in. So, yeah. So, I be a little confused. All my kids be like to stand at the door. And I don't want to come inside. But that's fine, because they also know, the teacher be doing the most. But, what was I gonna say? Yeah, so the same thing with goals and stuff. Like, you can't force a person to have certain life goals, right? You have a conversation with them to see where they stand at in their own life and their own expectations, and then you can help them accomplish what it is they set and help them to see and build new goals. So same goes with expectations. You can't have expectations for people just because you see. And I think I heard this girl say this one time, just because you see that a person has potential doesn't mean that they have the capability. So potential and capability are two different things. We all have the potential to learn, but your capability, your access to the understanding of it is going to be different. So I can give you access to information just like I pass out papers in this classroom, but that doesn't mean that everybody's going to be willing to read it. Doesn't mean that everybody's going to be willing to learn. Doesn't mean that everybody's going to have the same application to it and going to have the same strive to get there. That's life. So we can only hold people accountable to the amount that they want to be held accountable. And we hope that, in essence, every so often they'll readjust, right? And I talk about that too. Alignment, recalculating yourself. I talk about so much stuff in my class and in my on Clubhouse. I guess I'm gonna be bringing it to this too, but yeah, I'm gonna be alright, because I gotta finish reading this story, because we're gonna be talking about Loki today. Told y'all I'm getting into this mythology, so we can watch some videos, and yeah, that's it. So keep being do you, and let nobody else force you to do something else or nothing else that you don't want to do. Strive for the better version of yourself at all times. Y'all know I love y'all, so keep it real. All right, bye. See y'all later.